Welcome to the Perfectionist Guide to Mothering. I'm Andrea Fortenberry, and I'm here to help you break up with perfectionism, unrealistic expectations, and mom guilt to enjoy motherhood and love this one and only beautiful life God has given you. In these episodes, we will be real, vulnerable, and have fun too. My hope is that you will walk away encouraged and equipped for the hard and amazing work of motherhood. Welcome to episode 136 of the Perfectionist Guide to Mothering. Today I have the privilege of chatting with Emily Stroud. As a Christian financial advisor and best-selling author of Faithful Finance, Emily knows firsthand how finances can weigh on families and how grace can transform even the busiest seasons. She is also co-host of the Faithful Finance podcast. With over 20 years of professional experience, Emily offers both sound financial wisdom and genuine encouragement for mothers navigating faith and finances. I hope you'll enjoy my conversation with Emily. Welcome to the Perfectionist Guide to Mothering, Emily. I'm so glad to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I think our conversation is very timely. This episode is going to air at the beginning of the year, and I think a lot of us are thinking about things we would like to change for the new year, like new habits, and I have found in my own life that finances are generally on that list. There's always things that we can either be working to improve or things we're working toward, like different goals. Also, as moms, we might be thinking about how to talk to our kids about finances and teach them different things. So I'm excited to have you bring your expertise and experience to the show today.
Well, thank you. It's a conversation that needs to be in the forefront. Unfortunately, kind of like food, or you have to use money in your daily life. And so my big mission is to help people live without fear and anxiety as it relates to money, because I have found over my career of 20 plus years, no matter how many resources you do have, it seems everybody has an issue with money.
Yeah, definitely. And it could be seasonally that we have, just different seasons. It could be from like our upbringing and our family. I'm sure you see, the whole gamut of just different factors that contribute to our experiences with money.
Exactly. Family of origin's a big deal, whether your parents, you witnessed them being very anxious about money, whether they talked about it. And then marriages, of course, are such a just complicated relationship with money when you're bringing two different people together that grew up two different ways and you're combining your finances. And then as you have been married a long time, if you're having children or grandchildren, and then all the different factors that play into how you make your decisions with money.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit. So how have you seen in your own life and then just in your career, how does our either experience or the attitudes that we have about money affect our parenting? Like how does that show up in our day-to-day as we're raising families?
Well, just like anything, whether it's a health problem, a financial problem, some sort of conflict that you have with a family member, anything that is an anxiety inducing or stress inducing, it's going to show up in your parenting because we're human. And I think kids are a lot more intuitive than we give them credit for being. So even when they're little, they may not know exactly what the problem is, but they sense it. And so that's another reason why I often joke I'm a family counselor or a marriage therapist, because if we can get to the root of what's really causing the fear and then get plans in place and strategies in place. And this is a big win for couples and families. So, and kids shouldn't have to bear that burden, but if mom and dad are super stressed about money, then it's pretty rare that they don't know that already.
Yeah.
And
So
they take that with them into college and then their young adulthood and so on and so forth.
right. Yeah. It's some of those habits or mindsets that are caught, not taught. And
Yeah. And that's the same thing with good money habits. People always ask
right.
me, well, how do I teach my kids about money? Well, just like tithing, giving, serving, if they see you volunteering and they see you being generous, then they're watching.
Right.
Same thing. If they see you spending recklessly on things that they know you don't need or can't afford, I mean, they're watching. So
Right.
that's a good model, one way or the other, for how
R-
they're going to also have a relationship with money.
Right. I like that you mentioned the positive because I my mindset was thinking about like the negative things that they learn, but you're right. They do learn a lot of positive things as from us
Yeah,
as
money
well.
is
So,
not evil. That's
mhm.
another thing that I think is a myth. It's not money itself. Money is a great tool. You can use it to do great things in this world, and we want the people doing great things to have the money.
Right.
Um, so it's not a bad thing, but it can be a major source of stress if it's not managed well.
Right. I think people forget the part of the verse where it says, "For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil," and people just think about, "Oh, it's money that's
It's
the root."
money. Yeah,
It's
no, it's
not.
not money. And it's
Yeah.
biblical. Like people have the gift of administration or they have the gift of teaching. That's biblical. How
Right.
managing money well is really important.
Right. Yeah. Let's chat now about just our approach to finances. And as part of your goal and your business, you want to help families approach money with like a biblical, peaceful perspective versus we were talking earlier about like that fear mindset with money. So can you just share a little bit, like how can we just have that mindset and again view money as that tool versus like this maybe scarcity mindset or thinking money's evil? How can we just have a better perspective on that?
Well, knowledge is power. And the first step to financial planning, I always tell people, is a budget and
Mm,
being honest with yourself. And if you're married, honest with your spouse and communicating. If you don't know how much money is coming into your household and how much you're spending every month, there's really no way to live unless you're completely independently wealthy and it just really doesn't matter. Then this is not for you. But for most people, just getting a hold of what's coming in, what's going out, and then a couple things, paying yourself first, which is what I call saving, making yourself and your family a priority, and giving. And that changes your attitude and your spirit about money. So, but doing those at the beginning of the month, not waiting to see if anything's left over at the end of the month, and then just being purposeful with your spending. And it's not all bad. If you're doing all the right things, you have a budget, you're paying all of your bills, you're giving, you're saving, then the part that's left over, you can spend how you want to spend without guilt.
Mhm.
So it's not all, punishment or negative. It can be really great. You just have to honestly sit down and do the work.
Mhm.
And I have a free budget worksheet that I give away on my website, faithfulfinance.com, because I found that the biggest objection to creating a budget is I don't even know where to start.
Mhm.
And so many things that we spend now it used to be just credit cards. Now it's Apple Pay and touch your phone. There's
Right.
no emotional connection whatsoever to our spending. And so you have to go back and, audit your credit card statement, audit your bank account statement, however you're paying for things and
Mhm.
see where your money's going, but put it on paper at least
Mhm.
once
Mhm.
and really figure out where your money's going. So I created this really detailed budget worksheet that includes all the expense categories that a lot of people forget:
Mhm.
pet food, all the little things that we dry cleaning, vacations is a big one, things that are one-time expenses and not something we do every month. That's how a lot of people get into credit card debt is they have one large expense that they don't budget for over the course of the year. And so you need to include those as well. So really budgeting is the first step, and then having an emergency cash reserve so that when something arises that wasn't expected, you're not putting it on a credit card, you
Right.
have a cushion. And if you have a budget and you're spending within your means and you're saving, you're giving, and then you also have a cash reserve, then you can start doing the fun things, saving, dreaming,
Right.
investing, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of peace that comes as well, like you said, in those unexpected life things, the dishwasher goes out, the car needs work, like if there is that emergency fund, then you're not in that panic mode. It stinks to have to tap into it when those things happen, but just having that there is really
Well,
helpful.
and I always say if you're not prepared financially, then you're going to have two problems instead of just the one problem that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And this is especially true when it comes to a medical crisis and a medical bill, because that's emotional and stressful in and of itself. And then if you're wanting to focus on caring for the loved one that's in the hospital or having medical issues, but then you're terrified of getting the bill and how are we going to pay for it and what happens now, it's just such a compounded situation, but it can be avoided if you have that reserve.
Yeah. And Emily, I know some people might think, okay, a budget, like that seems, they'll access your worksheet and like get going. But sometimes I feel like we have a mindset about a budget of like it's limiting or like it's a bummer, like we don't get to spend any money.
That's
And
what I
so,
was trying to say before is if we switch our mindset and say that this is a tool to empower you,
yeah.
then we reframe our mindset that it's punishment. It's not, you're not, I joke with people when they come to my office, I'm not, this is like the principal's office. I'm not here to micromanage. And one of the things that's really great for couples too is you need a category for miscellaneous expenses in your budget every month. And some couples go so far as pick a number. I'm going to use $1,000 just because it's an easy round number and the math is easy. But I've got 1,000 and you've got 1,000 every month that I get to decide how I spend it
Mhm.
as long as all these other things are already taken
Mhm.
care of. So that's fun. And if
Yeah.
you don't spend it this month and you save up for something or a vacation, then you can go enjoy those things in life that do bring joy without guilt. It's all
Right.
about living without fear and
Mhm.
guilt and anxiety.
Yeah. And something that's been helpful in our family too is to remember that God entrusts us with the money that we have. And that, again, it's a tool that we can steward. And so having that mindset is really helpful. And there's some seasons where we have less free income. We got to stick to that budget really tightly. And then there's other seasons where maybe there's a windfall income or like an increase in something. And so I feel like we all experience those different seasons. And I think a helpful mindset is to have that stewardship mindset in all of the different seasons. That can be helpful.
And what I found is sometimes you're the recipient on the giving end, which sometimes is more humbling than being the one giving. So,
Right.
and just accepting that with pride. For example, my husband had a heart attack about a year and a half ago,
Mm,
and I had all these friends reaching out to give us meals and help drive kids and carpool. And at first, I was like, I've got it. I'm good. I'm good. I didn't want to be a burden to
mm,
other people. And what a dear friend of mine said was, you're being prideful. You're not letting
mm,
us feel blessed by blessing you.
mhm,
And it was an aha moment of sometimes we're in seasons where we're the ones that are giving and blessing others,
mhm.
and then sometimes we're the recipients.
Right. Yeah. And I think what's helpful to me in those seasons of being the giver is to just remember like you feel blessed when you get to give. So yeah, when we need to be the receiver, us not allowing someone to give, it's
Yeah, you're
robbing them of that
blocking
blessing.
their ability to feel the blessing too.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Well, Emily, I'd love to hear your thoughts about what if we are on a different page than our spouse when it comes to money, whether that's from, again, like the way we were raised or just like approaching a budget. What are some helpful things that you have found to help us maybe bridge that gap a little bit and work on our money together versus kind of being on different pages?
Well, picking a time to have that conversation is really key.
Mm.
For example, if you've had a long day of work and you're making dinner and you're trying to get kids to bed, that's not the moment to bring
Right.
up, well, hey, babe, let's sit
Uh,
down and go over the budget. Like, so having it on the calendar where you both know this is a time that we're going to set aside, that's good. Don't spring it on your spouse. But if they really are pushing back and don't want to have the conversation at all, which is pretty rare that people won't even speak about it. But let's just say
Right.
that's the case. You can't control them, but you can control your actions. And so I have found that when one spouse decides to get really purposeful about spending and budgeting and savings, the other spouse notices,
Mm.
right? Maybe you're less stressed. Maybe you feel like you have more to give. And so a lot of times that will feed over to the other one and it hopefully will open up opportunities for communication. But
Yeah.
I mean, really, there's no way around it. If you're married, you need to be communicating about money. And if you're not, and there is a complete brick wall up, more than likely it's about something else.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
figuring out what is the root of the issue emotionally, spiritually, physically, maybe they're not feeling
Hmm.
well, maybe they're stressed about something. So
Yeah.
once again, I sound like a broken record, but communication,
Hmm.
communication.
Yeah. And like you said, I feel like timing is a big deal. Timing is everything on those conversations or like hard parenting conversations or like, here's how we need to improve our relationship conversations. So I appreciate that reminder. Definitely.
Yeah, timing is very important.
Yeah. Yes. Well, next question is what tips do you have for us about teaching our kids about finances? We kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, but any other thoughts on that?
Well, kind of depends on their age. I have teenagers now. And so when both of them were about 13, we went to the bank together and opened up a bank account and a savings account. And I think having an allowance with chores related or some sort of way for them to feel as though they have a little bit of control
Mhm.
on the money that they have, then you can have those conversations about, okay, well, when mom and dad look at our income every month, we take 10% off the top and we tithe. We take the next 10% and we save and 10% invest, and then we can spend the rest. But it opens up the conversation if they actually have a little bit of their own money. It's pretty hard to
Right.
have that make sense to somebody if it's all pie in the sky and they
Right.
never actually get to make any kind of decision
Hmm.
about money. And it's all about, you know, slowly releasing the reins.
Right.
And so I now have a child in college and she lives in the dorm now, but she's probably
Mhm.
going to be in an apartment next year. And she's never had to pay an electric bill or a water bill. And so
Uh,
I'm helping her with all of those things, of course, but I'm not living in the state where she goes to college. And
mhm.
so she's going to have to figure out, okay, this is how much I have every month to spend, and
Right.
these are my bills. And so some of this is on the job training, but
Yes.
hopefully by the time they're making those decisions, you've had a lot of conversations.
Right.
So and letting them see you
Mhm.
pay bills, make decisions. There's a little catalog that comes in the mail in Fort Worth about all the different nonprofit organizations around the city and what they do and their mission. It comes out every year at Christmas time. It's really neat. You get to learn a lot about the great things people are doing. And so we have had this practice where we'll sit down with the kids and say, okay, we're going to give
Mhm.
$1,000. We want you all to help us decide who
Mhm.
we're going to give to. And are we going to give $10 to 100 different agencies, or are we
Right.
going to give 500 to two? Like, give us your thoughts, give us your feedback. And it's interesting to see what's important to them and what they think is
Yeah.
important. So, anyway, once again, conversations. I used to when they were really little. And once again, this for most people, giving is automated now.
Hmm.
We're giving with our bank account online. We're giving with our credit, however you're doing. It's not that physical
Right.
act like when we were kids, if they passed the plate in church and you give. But when
Right.
my kids were really little, we were still doing that. And so I would give them $1 and let
Mhm.
them put the money in. So just seeing you do things, seeing
Yeah.
you bless other people, seeing you take a meal to
Hmm.
someone who is sick, they're watching.
Yeah. Definitely. And I like what you said about, yeah, giving them opportunity to manage some of their own money because they learn from the good choices and also from, making choices where like maybe they really wanted to save for something, but they impulsively wanted to buy something. And so then they're out that money. And so it's good to let them experiment with that while they're at home and we can guide and teach them versus not giving them any experience in that until they're out of the house.
And my son is kind of interesting. He's 15 now, but he has a little sneaker resale business on the
Oh,
side.
okay.
And so he was doing things like mowing lawns and helping outside and pulling
Yeah.
weeds and really manual labor type tasks. And it's hard, especially in
Yeah.
Texas in the summer when it's hot.
Right.
And so he learned really quickly that if he could find shoes at resale stores and fix them up, clean them, and
Mhm.
then sell them for a profit, that was a lot easier
Yeah.
physically. And he
Right.
made more money. But the funny thing was, then when we started saying, okay, if he wanted something new, we'll use your money. It's a lot different if it's his money
Yes.
than versus if it's mom and dad's money. Well, maybe I don't need that. Oh, interesting how that works.
Right. I have two teenagers as well. And often my son, who's 14, will be like, hey, can we get Chick-fil-A for dinner or whatever? Like he loves to eat out. And so, when I'm like, we are not going to unless you are buying, like, would you like to buy? And he's like, oh, no, never mind.
Yeah,
So,
of course not.
so letting them feel it a little bit. Fun. Well, Emily, I love this one because I feel like moms are always trying to save money or get good deals on things. So, what have you found in your mom and business experience are some good money saving tips for moms?
Well, price shopping, obviously, and now that's easier than ever to compare prices at different places for the same exact object. I always say shop around because let's not alter your lifestyle, but if we can get you the exact same service or the exact
Right,
same item for less money, that's a win, right?
right.
However, the coupon mom thing, I have a little bit of a conflict with because if I'm just buying things because they're on sale and I got a good deal, that I'm not winning, I'm just buying more stuff.
Right. That you
And
may
so,
not need.
right, I had an aunt, it was really funny. And I mean, she would drive around town to different grocery stores based on what coupons she had. So she might have been buying Diet Coke at one grocery store and drive all the way over town to get green beans. But really, what that 25 cents that you saved on that coupon, but you used so much gas and
The
time.
time, right.
Yeah. So some of that, like I think with moms, there's this mindset of, oh, couponing type or that kind of thing. That really is not usually that productive.
Yeah.
If you're gonna buy it anyway, yes. But if you're just buying stuff because it's on sale, no.
Yeah.
And so, but helping your family with groceries is a big one now. And how to use, if you make ground beef for tacos one night, you have some left over the next night, I'll do a quesadilla real quick with, what I'm saying? Like
Right.
the food, stretching the food,
Hmm.
that's a big one. Just being mindful about impulse purchases.
Mm.
It doesn't really feel that extravagant to get a Starbucks, but then if you're going through Starbucks every time you leave the carpool line and you look back over a month, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it adds up fast.
It adds up fast. So stuff like that, just really being mindful of what you're spending, why you're spending.
Mhm.
I think also with moms, there's a comparison trap
Mhm.
of trying to make sure your child has the same thing that so and so has. And then comparison, that's a really hard one for us as moms. And guilt, I think, causes us to maybe spend on things for our kids that we know deep down they don't need, but we feel guilty for some reason or another. So I feel like guilt and comparison,
Mhm.
you got to check your heart and think, why am I doing this? Like,
Mhm.
what's the heart behind it? That's
Yeah.
that's different than like I'm buying school clothes because my kids need school clothes. I'm talking
Right.
about well, I'm going to buy the most expensive tennis shoes for my son because his friends have that
Right,
and
because
I
it's
want him to.
popular.
Yeah, it's,
Mhm.
you see what I'm saying?
Definitely. Yeah,
And not that that's bad. Like I said, I'm not shaming anyone, but if you can't afford it
right.
in the season that you're in, then yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, yeah. And I also think it's good for us to, yeah, not let our kids have everything they want. I remember when I was growing up, my dad said this phrase that like drove me crazy at the time. One time he said, "Sometimes you just need to hear no." And I did not like that at all. But now that I'm a parent, I'm like, I get this because we don't want to create that entitlement mentality with our kids. So I feel like there's got to be a good balance of the yeses and nos.
Yeah, and you don't want to be, it's this kind of funny story, but we do tell our kids no a lot. And sometimes you just want to say yes
Hmm.
and be fun mom.
Right.
I think we've all been there.
Uh,
I came home one time, we went to the pet store to get dog food, and I was there with my little boy, and he said he wanted a guinea pig. And of course, my first thought was no. And then I thought, you know what? Let's get a guinea pig. How fun is that? So, every now and then it is fun to actually say yes. So I get that. It's hard. You love
Yeah.
those babies and you want to see them smile and
Right. Yeah. I think a good question, which is kind of the answer that you were giving, is like just thinking about the why, and that's applicable as well. Like think about the why, think about the long term and the short term implications, I think is helpful too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Emily, before we dive into the fun questions, any last thoughts or encouragement you want to give listeners about finances?
I do have a book that I wrote. It's called Faithful Finance. It looks like this. And if they really are struggling with money, this is a great book, especially for women and even moms, because I go through the 10 secrets to achieving financial freedom in each chapter. And each chapter is written so that it stands alone. So I tell a story because I feel like people remember stories a lot more than they remember facts. So it's not written like a boring finance textbook, but it really does provide a lot of information that is practical for people of just to, they're like, I don't know where to start. Well, start by educating yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll be sure to link that in the show
Thank
notes
you.
for listeners. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's why we are now doing the podcast that I'm doing is Faithful Finance as well. And we go through the different chapters. One chapter is each podcast episode.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll link your show as well so listeners can find it.
Oh, great.
Well, fun. Let's dive into the fun questions now. So,
Okay.
first one is what are you reading, watching, or listening to these days?
I listen to a lot of podcasts, but this is funny. I just got this book for Christmas. It's backwards on the film, but Jump and Find Joy, Hoda Kotb.
Oh, yeah.
Um, And so my husband gave me this for Christmas, and it's kind of funny too. I love the Today Show.
Yes.
I watch it in the background. My office is attached to my house, and so it's kind of the background of my mornings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's positive. I get a lot of my news and know what's going on in the world without it feeling heavy.
Right.
And so my husband jokes that I watch a lot of talk shows. I like talk shows. And then in Fort Worth, this is not educational by any means, but there's a show on Paramount Plus called Landman,
Oh,
and
I
it's
have heard of it.
filmed here in Fort Worth and filmed right by my house.
Oh,
So I
fun.
drive past the places that they film all the time. They film at Texas Christian University, which is where I got my MBA, and it's right
Fun.
here in town. So it's fun to watch because number one, we can relate to some of the content, but number two, it's like Easter eggs finding, oh, I know that
Yeah.
restaurant and I know um, where they are right there. And
Yeah.
so
Oh,
that's
that's
been
fun.
fun.
Awesome. Yeah, my husband, I think, has watched a couple episodes, but I haven't seen it yet. So
Yeah,
that's
it's
fun.
intense, but it's the main reason I'm watching it is more because of being from Fort Worth and it's filmed here in Fort Worth.
Yeah, the local angle. That's fun.
Yeah.
Next question. What is a product, service, or practice that makes your life easier?
Well, I will say this, Instacart.
Yes.
I have a membership, so I'm not paying a delivery fee every time I get something. But the amount of time that it takes, because I live a little bit outside of the city center, so that to get to the grocery store and then the impulse buys that happen at the grocery store.
Right.
So if I just put certain things in my cart, I found I don't buy a bunch of stuff that number one's not healthy, that I'm just hungry and I throw it in the basket. So, and number two, just efficiency.
Hmm.
And so the delivery thing is a game changer for me as a mom.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, you can budget, which is part of this episode. You can budget and
Mhm.
then save some time too.
And
So,
now they even have coupons that you can use using Instacart. I know I
oh,
was
okay.
saying that about the coupons, but it's already there. So if you click the button, so because I get that question a lot, well, aren't you paying more for your groceries than if you went to the grocery store? And really not necessarily at all.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I have found it to be very efficient.
Yes. Nice. Like that. That's been a, over the years of doing this podcast, the grocery delivery is a frequent answer because it is money saving, time saving, which is super helpful for
And
moms.
just, yeah, unloading all that stuff from the car, just the fact that it's on my front porch is
Yes.
huge.
And I feel it's helpful too for meal planning as well because when I'm
Yes.
sitting there looking at my cart for groceries, it's like, okay, what am I going to make? Versus sometimes I go to the store and I'm just like grabbing random things. Then I come home and I'm like, what am I going to make for dinner? So,
And I will, while I'm making the cart, I will look in my refrigerator. Okay, we have
yes.
strawberries, we have milk. I don't need to buy that again. Whereas I used to just always, I would come home and realized I'd bought 3 things of taco shells. Okay, we don't need
Right.
more taco shells. So that sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Love that answer. Well, next question. What is your best soul or self-care tip for moms?
Sleep.
Yes.
I am not good if I am
Oh.
exhausted. And that's when I find that I get emotional. I snap or
Mhm.
respond in a way that is not my best. If I'm exhausted, I have finally learned this over the year. I'm not doing anybody a favor by pushing myself past the point of
Mhm.
being healthy and rested.
Mhm.
And so I have found that I don't need to look at that as a luxury. And believe it or not, this might sound controversial. I love a nap.
Oh, me too.
So I have found that because I'll get up early, get kids ready for school, and then I work from home. And then I call it my second wind when it's time to pick up kids
Mhm.
and all the activities that happen at night and dinner and homework.
Right.
It's a 24/7 thing, right? It's not a 9 to 5 clock
Right.
out. And so I used to feel guilty or embarrassed that I took a nap, but if I will take a 30-minute nap at like 3 o'clock before I
Mhm.
start the second wave of everything, it's a game changer. And
Yeah.
a lot of times I'm not necessarily asleep, but I've turned off the electronics, the phone, just a pause
Right.
and let my brain settle. So that would be my number one thing is prioritize sleep and rest and don't feel guilty about it.
Mhm.
I'm speaking to myself too. I'm reminding myself.
No, it's so good. And as you were sharing about, the season of like picking kids up and running them to other things, yeah, there's different seasons, and I think we focus so much on like sleep when the baby sleeps, like when we have little kids,
Mhm.
but it's something you need throughout all of parenting. I think in this teenage phase that I'm in, yeah, my teens like to stay up late at night. And so sometimes I do need that extra energy to like
I
be
know.
be available when they want to talk, which is generally when I'm ready to go to bed. But if I
Oh,
can
100%. They have a radar. If mama's tired, this is when I want to get into the meaning of life
Yes,
question.
yes. So if I'm more rested, then I'm a little more able to stay up with them.
Yes.
Yeah. So
How
good
old are your
reminder.
kids now?
My daughter is a senior and she's 17, and then my son is a freshman and he's 14. So
Okay, yeah, you're
yeah.
right there in it.
Yes, big year for us in our house. So yeah. Well, next question. What is God teaching you in this season?
Well, it's not anything new. Patience, and I'm not in control.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
would love to be in control.
I've thought that
I'm a
many a times
planner, for
myself.
goodness sake. People pay
Right.
me to plan their lives. I'm always like, it's such a
Uh,
joke. So we can make plans, and yes, but ultimately, another thing I've learned along the way that I think is a good reminder, I was talking to my husband about this morning, is I want what God wants.
Mm,
And so instead of saying, God, I want to send my kid to this school, will you please bless it? I want to move to this house, will you please bless it? Starting with, God, I want what you want.
mm,
And so please make it clear and let my husband and I be in unity about the decision for our family. And then I feel like the blessings do come, but not
mm,
deciding ahead of time what you want God to do and then bless.
right.
So um,
Yeah,
it's
I
easier
think
said
that's
than done, but
for sure. I think that's really helpful though to just remember, yeah, we're not in control, so we should align as best we can with God's plans versus trying to get God on board
and a
with
lot
our
of times
plans.
it's not, you don't get the whole picture either. You get the
Right.
next step and just being That's where the patience comes in is, I don't know where this is going ultimately, but I'm going to take this one next step that I feel confident and peaceful about.
Right.
And listening to your inner soul, I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of guidance there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, thanks for sharing that. Always
Sure.
good reminders and love to know, yeah, what's going on in your season. So last question, Emily, is if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
I'm a lot of places. I'm on Instagram, Emily Graham Stroud, Facebook, faithfulfinance.com is my website. And that's a great place to land because on the website, you can find my podcast, you can find my book, and then you can also link to my social media. As far as podcasts are concerned, we're on YouTube if you want to watch the audio, the video version, but we're also everywhere you would normally listen to a podcast. So we're trying to be available where people are. If they're
Yes.
folding laundry, if they're in the car, they can listen. You can even listen to my book on audiobook because
Fun.
people are busy and not everyone's sitting down and reading, but a lot of people are listening to books.
Right.
So
Yes. Well, awesome. I will be sure to link all of those in the show notes and just really grateful for our conversation and all the wisdom that you shared.
well, thank you so much for having me. It was great to meet you as well.